Everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us. Welcome to Meet Menaka, celebrating you. Today, we are going to have our episode 44 about protecting emotional well-being in relationship with Dr. Jihene Mame. So before we go into it, a request from us. Please do subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified and benefit from the videos. Please support our channel to add value with our inspirational messages and to make a positive change by subscribing. Today, we are going to be speaking about protecting emotional well-being in relationships with Dr. Jihene Rabet, clinical psychologist and an assistant professor at the American University in the UAE. Before we go into it, I must say we were co-speakers on a medical conference, and that's how I met Jihene. And, as life would have it, I have no idea what I was doing there because it was full of psychologists and psychiatrists and researchers. And just after I finished speaking, Jihene decided to come on board and say a few words about me and say, it was really how interesting it was to hear the perspective who is not a psychologist or psychiatrist. And then we became friends, and that's, as they say, the rest is history. A very warm welcome to Jihene. And, I am in a short time, I have really got to know you really well. So I'm looking forward to having you on board.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Menaka. Indeed, it was a really, really beautiful and amazing encounter.
To have a successful, healthy relationship, it takes communication, compromise, and a lot of give and take to make them work. But if you're in a relationships, sometimes there is little or no empathy. The other person demands a lot of attention and admiration, and it's like very focused on themselves most of the time. Then you could be in a relationship with narcissist. I am no specialist on this, so let's ask the specialist. Before we go into narcissism per se, I want to ask Jihene, what are the pillars of a healthy couple relationship?
So thank you very much, Menaka, for your presentation. And I would like, just before answering your question, welcome all the present here and thank them for their presence today. I think talking about couple healthy relationship is very, very important. And most likely nowadays, with all the challenges and the pressure that we've been witnessing exerting on couples and on families dynamic, I think the most important pillar of a couple, let's say healthy emotional couple relationship is, first of all, and of course, I'm sure that you will approve that, is love. Right? So all starts with love. We need to love each other. We cannot be in a relationship with a person if we don't feel love. We will never be able to compromise. We will never be able to adjust who we are to the other person and somehow build something in common if we're not able to compromise. And we will never be able to compromise if we don't love the other person. So that's as per what I think is the very, very first pillar of a good relationship, couple relationship. The second one is, as you could understand, also communication. Communication is very important. I've met a lot of couple where love is here. They love each other, but they don't know how to communicate with each other. Most of the time when they start talking, a lot of misunderstanding is here. The voice is getting high very quickly. Things getting messy very quickly. And it ends up, of course, with fight, misunderstanding, a lot of some grudges hold, and then they never talk. And unfortunately, that kind of miscommunication built in distance in the couple. And within days, if that distance is ignored, if that distance is not addressed, unfortunately, it will lead to separation. The other pillar also that is very important is with the communication is sharing. It's very important to share in a couple. We need to share our interest. We need to share our emotion. We need to feel also secure to share our emotion. That's very, very important. It's not easy for a person to talk to another person I mean, overtly, with an overly heart, without really having these kind of prejudice or these kind of fears that the other person will be judging me, the other person will see a part of myself that I don't want him to see. Some people, also in couples, somehow hold on that perfect image that they want to show to other people around. So the problem, if you hold on being perfect, you never really show the person who you really are. And that ends up with living in some kind of illusion, right? It's not reality. You're not really living with the real me. You're living with some sort of idealized image. And that, of course, at any moment of our life is meant to be broken, of course. Then the third pillar that I think also is very important is the value scale. Remember, all the time, when we talk about couple, we talk about two persons coming from two different environments. Even if we are belonging to the same culture, we're coming from two different families. And when I say two different families, I'm talking about different values, different educational strategies, different approaches. So everything is different. And I remember once when I started getting interested into couple and systemic relationship, because I have also a certificate in couple and systemic family approach. When I start first looking into these kind of dynamics, I remember that I saw a book. I'm sorry, I forgot now the title, but it was shown a couple, a man and a woman, of course, laying on a bed, and near to the man, his mother and his father, and near to the woman, the mother and his father. So, and they mentioned something about like, you're never two in a relationship, you're much more than two, right? So we need to take that into consideration. We need to be aware that we are the product of our parent, of our education, of our environment, of our experiences. So coming to the relationship with that kind of baggage, and meet the other baggage from the other side that could be sometimes completely different is very, very challenging. So it's very important to communicate and then also to find in a couple a common value, a value that would, new values, let's say, that we will agree on, that would serve as some sort of a contract, as some sort of a let's say, base for the relationship, so that when we are planning to have kids and when we plan to have a family for ourselves, it would be easier, right? We have now our common grounds, we have our common values, so navigating through the relationship and through all the challenges will be much easier. The fourth also, I think, pillar that is very, very important is respect. And this is something that sometimes is not really taken into consideration or is not really highlighted as it should be. People most of the time think that because they have that close relationship, because they have this closeness, now they're not supposed to respect. I mean, respect is for stranger, right? I love you, love me, we get very close to each other, so we don't need to think about respect. So most of the time, this is also a misconception, right? And I mean, you have to respect the other person, not only about not saying bad words to him or not acting in a selfish way, but it's also about caring about what he likes to do, caring about his moment of freedom. And that would be the last pillar, as per me, giving that person his own space. And this is another confusion that most of the couples do. They think that because we're married, so you don't have any private or individual space anymore. We have a common space, so we need to live in that common space. We need to have the same friend. We need to go to the same places. We need to have exactly the same idea and the same point of view. We need to play the same sport. I mean, no. By doing this, you somehow want to annihilate the other person. You want to stop the other person from existing, and you want him just to be some sort of an extension of yourself, which is not appropriate at all. And most of the time, I mean, in psychology, we call that psychosis, right? For psychosis, it's when you're fusional with another person, and fusion is never healthy. Fusion is never healthy. I mean, every time, and this is also something very important that I want to highlight. This is something about us and how we were educated. I'm going to talk about myself, and the culture from I'm coming, and you can tell me after if that's applied on you or not. I mean, as a kid, I was also raised with the idea of going through the fairy tales, the idea of a princess that having one Prince Charming who the one and only love in her life and so on, and everything is going well at the end and everything everlasting good, and they will have children and blah blah blah. So the problem here is that it's a lot of romantic here. Romantic is good. I mean, love is good, but we need somehow to rationalize these preconceptions, because if we keep having these preconceptions, we will somehow think that we are bounded to be in a one relationship with only one person for our whole life without having any choice to do otherwise. We may think that this is how real love look like. Real love is being just somehow a perfect image mirror of the other person, which is absolutely wrong in a real life. We can be different and we can love each other and we can have a very, very healthy relationship as far as respect is here. Respect for our point of view, respect of our spaces, and respect of our own, choices. That's very, very important. And I think these are the most important pillar of a healthy couple relationship.
Thank you so much, Jihad. And it was really interesting to listen. And, thanks to Disney, isn't it? We all grow up wanting to be this Disney fairy tale of someone coming on the, white horse and knocking at our door sometimes. You all get into these, imaginations and expectations, isn't it? Like, no one ever says something about things can go wrong. It's okay, sometimes. And I think what you said was really interesting is about being perfect. I like to call it imperfectly perfect, because there's no perfect, isn't it? As a human being, nobody is perfect, really. And we can all aim to be as close as perfect, but we are still imperfect. So the earlier we realize, the better it is. And I think it's the space. I am a big advocate of space, and I think I am a HSP as well, so I'm a highly sensitive person, and I really need that space and time to recoup. And because I am quite chatty, and I can make friends, so people kind of expect that I can be speaking to people all the time, I can be out all the time, but it's not so. I need my space and energy to recoup, to come back to that level again, so that because
Absolutely.
everything. Yeah. So I think you're so right in saying that people take it for granted that once you are in a relationship or you're married, you kind of have to lose your identity and become somebody else, and you have to do everything all the time together. And I think it might be works for some people, I don't know, but I think it's hard work, and I think everyone needs to maintain their uniqueness and then become better together in whatever they are doing. I think. Do you think that's a fair statement, Jihad?
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about Disney, I'm very, very happy that now, lately, let's say, they were just trying to read again or to reframe the Disney cartoons and movie with introducing some taste of what we have nowadays, what we're going through nowadays, because that's very important.
Yeah. And it's thank God for that. I think it was once upon a time or something, they created another version, a slightly older version. I think in that relationships do go wrong, all the things happen, and I'm thinking, thank God it's time. Thank you. So, we spoke about the relationship. So do the relationships we develop with our parents when we are kids play a role on setting protected emotional well-being as a couple? Because, as you said, we are the extension of our environment, and it's mostly our parents, right? So I'm just wondering, what kind of role does that have?
Yeah, so that's absolutely correct, Menaka. As I said, just remembering that image of the couple laying on a bed with both their parents, that says a lot about who we are. Who we are today is, or the personality we have today, and the emotional stability or instability that we're going through today, our strengths and also our weaknesses are the results of what we went through when we were kids. So, and in order to just tell you a little bit more about that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the attachment theory of John Bowlby. John Bowlby explained a lot how much the very first relationship with the mother and the father can really somehow build a model of relationship for the adult to be. Of course, it's not as simplest as that, okay? So we have a model, but then keep in mind that that model can be, is a model that we build when we are just kids. I mean, let's say between 1 year to 6 years approximately. Then at 6 years or sometimes even earlier, we go to kindergarten. So we start here experimenting relationship, and we start going through our own experiences outside the family, right? So also the outside element is playing a very important role. But the basic foundations are the relationship with the parent. And this is why going through what John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth called the strange situation, they just kind of created an experiment to check how the child was responding to his mother presence and absence, mother and father, of course. So, and out of these experiment, they kind of built 4 different type of attachment style. So you have the secure attachment style, and we have 3 type of insecure attachment style. So let me just tell you a little bit about the secure attachment style. So for the secure attachment style, they realized that the children do not really show a lot of anxiety, or at least a little bit of anxiety, when they are separated from their parent. I mean, they are in a room. When the parent leaves the room, the child is not very, very anxious. He could be a little bit anxious, but not very, very anxious. Like he's gonna act normally, as if, okay, so he left, he will come back. He will not get very, very panicked about it. The child also will seek proximity when the parent will come back. Once the mother left, he's not going to show anxiety, but when the mother come back, he will not show rejection, right? He will show just proximity. He would like to lay down on her arms, and he has that capacity to self-regulate his emotions and his thoughts, right? He has some sort of an appropriate boundaries in his relationship with his parent, and he is easily expressing his emotions toward his parent. So these kind of children has been proven to develop as secure, emotionally secure adult. So as adult that would be relaxed and comfortable in company with other people, that will be able to express their emotion to their loved one. They will be having that, let's say, conception of boundaries, an appropriate and good conception of boundaries that will respect the other person, that will not go into fusion, that would leave space to the person, and of course, that will seek social support and share feeling with other people around them. So those are people that belongs to the secure attachment, the one that mostly will be the best, let's say, approach when we talk about emotional security. Then we have the avoidant attachment. So the avoidant attachment is different. Here, the child will avoid the contact with the parent who may be emotionally unavailable. So that happens most of the time when a mother is depressive, or when, for example, the father is always absent, he's busy with work. So the child doesn't really have that kind of a good or deep experience with one of his parents, and then he kind of realized that it's useless to somehow invest people, or to invest relationship, because it's hurtful. Why should I invest a person if that person will not invest me back? Why should I invest this person if that person will be absent or will just deceive me, right? So they will not seek closeness with the parent. They will prefer their own company, and they will show very, very little preference for parent over stranger. So when you put them in a room with parent and stranger, it will be, I mean, choosing the parent won't be something that is somehow automatic. right? They could choose to be next to parent, but they can choose also to go to the stranger, which is not something usual. So these kind of person could develop into insecure adult, the one that will avoid contact with their loved one. They will be most of the time emotionally unavailable for their own children because this is what they went through. They have that also fear of confrontation. They don't want to confront bad situation or hurtful situation. They tend to escape. They also show little preferences for company. I mean, they can stay by themselves. They don't really look for best friends or friends around. They prefer to stay alone, and they have also a very, very high difficulty to express their emotion. Then the third model is the ambivalent attachment. So the ambivalent attachment, as its name says, it's ambivalent, right? It's not something that we can really understand 100%. So it's moody, it's fluctuating. So as children, we observe that the children show a very high anxiety during separation, and they're not easily consoled with the return of the parent. So when the mother come back to the room and take the children into her arms, the child will grab the mother, but he will keep on crying. Right? Even if the mother will try to calm him down, will try to tell him, okay, I'm here, don't be afraid, but he will continue crying, and sometimes he will even reject her, right? Physically speaking. They have some sort of a dysregulated emotion and confused thoughts. They, of course, have lack of boundaries in close relationship. They don't know how to respect the boundaries. They don't know what is the good distance, right? So sometimes they are fusional and sometimes they are very distant. And they have a tendency towards sudden tantrum and rages, right? Because here it's moody. So as adults, they will most of the time develop having fear of abandonment by the loved one. They will look for a clingy, and they are needy and clingy with their partners, right? So they're not in that case of healthy relationship where we discuss, where we communicate, where things are smooth. No, it's different here. Mood swings are very, very, very frequent. The experiences is intense with the anxiety, and of course they have unfortunately an inappropriate sense of emotional and physical boundaries, and that will create, of course, problem in the couple. Finally, the last attachment, let's say, style that John Bowlby was talking about is the disorganized attachment. So we called it disorganized because we couldn't really understand how it works, right? It's so, let's say, disorganized to the point that we cannot really tell what kind of clear dynamic this person have. So within children, children were expressing fears in close proximity to parent, and these parents are somehow were identified as being potentially abusive. So these are the parent of the disorganized attachment children. We have a mixture here between avoidant and resistant or aggressive behavior into the proximity of the father or the mother, a little sense of safety, a complete inability to self-regulate, and of course, sometimes the child himself seems dazed, dissociated, or confused. Right? He's not really into the room. He doesn't know really what to say, what to do. So as an adult, unfortunately, that kind of person will develop to have fears in close proximity or intimacy and relationship. They have fears showing their vulnerability, as we were talking about, perfect or being perfect. So these kind of person will never be able to show that they're vulnerable, but they will never be able to admit that they have weaknesses, right? Also, they have that they show that extreme rage and anger in response of confrontation, and they express very few, if not at all, empathy. And empathy here is a key word. Empathy is our capacity to put ourselves into someone else's shoes. It's our capacity to understand what the other person is going through. It's our capacity to understand what kind of feeling or what kind of struggle this person is facing right now. So this is why we are able to adjust our behavior in order to address the challenge the person is going through accordingly. Right? So the person that have disorganized attachment, unfortunately, they have very, very low empathy, and they have little or sometimes no understanding of personal boundaries at all. So, of course, as you could see here from what I was explaining, the secure attachment, the person that have a secure attachment are, let's say, I would say the luckier one. Not that it will be 100% true, right? Because I can have, for example, a secure attachment. I have a secure base. I have received a secure base from my parent, but then going through the different experiences in my life, it was distracted, right? So of course, nothing in psychology, nothing is really stable 100%. So as we grow, as we go through experiences, things change for the better, or sometimes, unfortunately, for the worse.
Sure. Thank you, Jihan. I have learned so much about the attachment styles now. I'm sure everybody else did as well. I just want to ask one question before I move on to the, to dive in deep. Some people are emotionally unavailable, we say, isn't it? So which type would they be?
So the emotional unavailable are the people that are insecure, all the insecure type, the 3 insecure type, which is avoidant, which is ambivalent, or which is also disorganized.
Okay. So we have more to play with. Okay. Yeah. So, let's come to the topic today, and it is narcissism. It is a personality, and, I think, is it conceived as excessive self-love, if I'm not wrong? And my knowledge about this is really limited. I know that it started from Greek mythology, isn't it? About someone who had a Narcissus. He saw Narcissus, I think, Narcissus,
yes.
And he saw his own image on a pool of water, and that's how the name came about. And I think there's even an index or something, isn't it? Ruskin or someone who, because I had interest, so I read up a bit couple of years back. So actually, what is the role of narcissism? Is it always bad or pathological?
Very good. Thank you very much for that question, Menaka, because that's a very interesting question. People most of the time get confused between narcissistic personality and narcissism, right? Narcissism as a concept itself is not pathological, right? So narcissism is our capacity to love ourselves, which is somehow needed so that we can survive, right? So imagine that you don't have any love for yourself. That would mean that you will be somehow depressed, and not the good depression. I mean, the very, very severe one that will lead to suicidal thought. And this is what happened with depressive people, right? So we need to have some narcissism. This is important, right? I need to love myself. I need to appreciate who I am. I need to be proud of who I am. But the issue here is that, the question here is where are we getting this narcissism? From where? So we get it from our parent, basically, because as a human being, when we're born, I mean, we don't have any other choice but our parent. I mean, the person that are taking care of us, let's say, at least not parent, caregivers, okay? So if caregivers are here and they're providing or sending us back a beautiful image of who we are, then we start building that very comfortable and, let's say, secure image of ourselves, and we start love ourselves, right? Like when a mother is cuddling a baby, when a mother is saying, oh my God, you're so beautiful, look at these eyes, look at this smile, like talking to her baby. I mean, here the baby is looking and you can basically see the eyes shining, right? So here the mother is just filling the baby with narcissism, filling the baby with love. So this is what actually will make us grow, right? With people that have love and that have a good self-esteem and self-love, right? So what happened now with narcissistic personality? So most of the time we say that narcissistic people are people that love themselves more than needed, right? Actually, it's the opposite. So narcissistic people are people that didn't get that much of love from their parent. So basically what they have a narcissistic wound. They are injured, they suffer. They didn't really had as much love as it should. So the problem is that they grow having that kind of wound in themselves, and they want to just act as if it's not existing. So what they do is that they just wear a mask. They wear a mask where they are the most important, where they're gonna just focus on themselves, where others are not important at all. And they just build their personality on this because they learn somehow, unfortunately, that no one will be here to give them love. No one will be here to give them what they lack of. No one will be here to care for them. So they have to care for themselves. So they just grow as, I'm going to use the word fighters, right? I need to fight to survive. Nobody will just give me love. Nobody is trustworthy. Nobody will really care about me. So I need just to care about myself. And this is why we see, when we look into narcissistic personalities, we see people that are most of the time egocentric. They just think what is good for them and they do it. They're not really empathic. What is important for them is just looking for themselves. And they are all the time afraid to be deceived by people around them, to the extent that they don't engage themselves deeply in close relationship, unfortunately.
Sure. Thank you. I think hopefully a lot of people have got more clarity about what is narcissism and can it be pathological. So, I think another word, gets bounced around a lot is perverse narcissist, or, is there a profile, or is there a gender who is tend to be more narcissistic? What are your thoughts about it?
Okay. So let me admit that I've heard before that, of course, I mean, we cannot say that some sort of a psychological difficulty or some sort of a profile is just a male or a female profile. We know that, the distribution is always among both genders, but it's different. The ratio is different. So for example, the pervert narcissist, in the literature, we cannot really find a lot of statistic on pervert narcissist female. And the reason most of the time is also cultural, because exactly as we do for domestic violence, some men are violented by their wife, right? But the problem is that culturally speaking, sometimes they feel ashamed to go and to declare it and to talk about it and to say, yes, I am abused by my wife, or my wife is beating me. So sometimes they just don't say anything about it, and we don't know what's happening, and we lack some statistics in here. While women are more, the culture is more empowering women in that way, just talk, speak, and women are more into expressing their emotion, expressing their feelings. Some culture also are just, some cultural background are, how can I say it, repressing men. Men are not supposed. Yes, men are not supposed to say to share their emotion. They're not supposed to say that they are fragile. They're not supposed to say that they're weak, right? So imagine yourself as a man. You're being abused. Plus, you don't have to speak about it. So it's a double challenge. So most of the time, they just stick to their dignity and they say, oh no, that's it, the relationship didn't work, we didn't come along, and that's it, right? So we lack statistic. But some statistic that I found that among the ratio of pervert narcissistic persons, 25% of that ratio is female, whether the rest is more male. So this is for the gender thingy. Now let's talk about the profile, which is also a little bit challenging. Sometimes when you go through literature, or when you go you see different people, sometimes it's really, really difficult to find a clear profile. But what I could find in literature when I was doing my research on domestic violence and profiling of the domestic abuser, I could find that most of the time, the pervert narcissist is a person that is more linked to avoidant attachment style. Remember the avoidant style we talked about. So the person that here doesn't really trust people around him, the person that feels that he could be abandoned at any moment, the person that thinks that people are not trustworthy, and the person that refuses to engage in a relationship with others. So and sometimes can have some anger management issues. So these are the avoidance style is most of the time attached to the profile of the pervert narcissist. But of course, we can find different also other profiles. I mean, it's much complicated than we think. It's not just a table or some sort of a syndrome that we're just describing through symptoms.
Sure. Thanks, Jihan. Just to quickly, can you just explain what is perverse narcissism? Because not everybody might be, knowing what it means.
Yes, absolutely. So Pervert narcissist. So I have worked a lot with pervert narcissists in the couple dynamics. Pervert narcissists are people, or I am going to talk about men, and I'm sorry for the men that are here today, but let me just focus on the most important ratio. And again, highlighting that, of course, that could be existing also within women. So what I observed is that most of the time, pervert narcissists are persons that are charming. They're just amazing. I mean, when you look from the outside, they're just shining. They're just amazing. They have that charisma. They look nice. They look kind. They observe a very good behavior in society. They are much appreciated. So people like them, right? Sometimes they can even dedicate time to you. They can talk to you. They can be very friendly. So you think most of the time that this is the ideal partner, until unfortunately you discover the reality. So what is the reality? The reality is that after a certain amount of time, and if, of course, this is very important, if you live with a pervert narcissist, because if you don't live with that person, if you're far away from each other, if you're entertaining, for example, a long distance relationship, you will never be able really to distinguish that this person has a pervert narcissist personality, right? Because he will be able to hide it as he wish. But if you see the person on a daily basis, if you live with that person, you will start, how can I say it, noticing things, right? So he will show you, for example, that he will criticize you a lot, right? Sure. And those critics will be in the beginning very, let's say, very little critics, right? He can tell you, for example, oh, I don't think that this lipstick really suits you. I think you should change it, right? So that looks okay. I mean, something that could hurt. Huh?
Sure. I just wanted to interrupt for 1 second. Yeah. I just wanted to, before we go into what they do to the other person, because as you said, they're sleek and smooth and people get attracted to them and they have a very different persona outside. Before they start doing all those things, are there any signs that people can pick on that to know they could be narcissistic before we go into the details of what they start doing?
Yeah, so this is the big issue with pervert narcissists, is that if, as I said, if you don't live with them, if you're not participating to their daily life routine, you will not be able to see that, because they know how to hide it, right? They know how to show you what you need to see. That's it. But if you're on a close living with that person or I mean, following that person on a daily basis, you will be able to notice some aspect, like, for example, the egocentrism. The person is only focusing on himself, or the person speaks very highly of himself. I mean, it's okay to be around a person that has confidence in himself, but a person that would think that he somehow knows everything, that he has the final word, that he's not wrong about anything, a person that doesn't have a lot of friends, a person that doesn't have a close friend is also something weird sometimes. We need to be careful of that because, again, remember, we talked about the avoidant style of attachment. So the avoidant style of attachment is a person that is not able to how can I say it, to really have good and deep relationship and to really trust people. So if you meet someone that is not trusting people, someone that is always talking in a bad way from people, or he's thinking that people are trying to somehow trap him, or people are jealous of him, or people are envious of him, or people are all the time looking at him in some sort of a jealousy way, then these are alarm. Right? Something is wrong here going on. A person shouldn't be like this. If you're engaged in a communication and you feel like the person is not able to find the common ground, if you feel like the person is always saying, no, I know what is true and what is not. I know what is right and what is wrong. And I'm telling you, my opinion is right. Here, there is a problem also. If that person, whenever you're about to convince him of something and you realize that that person just flew away of the discussion or changed the discussion, there is a problem here. So the person is not able to somehow questioning himself. And if a person is not able to questioning himself, this is problematic.
Thank you so much. Please go on and tell what happened, because I just really want to know, because, we would call them suave or smooth or slick, but, later on, so I was just wondering, can we get to, get to know about them before that damage is done? That's the reason I was, I had to interrupt and ask you. I'm so sorry. How a pervert narcissist then take control over the person, whoever they are with, in a relationship or otherwise.
Exactly. So this is what I was saying when I just gave the example of the lipstick. I mean, it's something that is very casual. I mean, a woman would not get really offended if her husband tell her, I don't think that this lipstick suits you a lot, just change it with someone else, right? It's another lipstick, sorry. But the problem is that the critics keep on happening again. The critics keeps on happening all the time, and this time is about lipstick, next time is about the way you dress, the time after it is the way you talk, the time after it is the way you reacted or you behaved in some sort of a event when you were out together. After that, it will be the way you're raised, it will be your thoughts mechanism. So this is what we call the psychological violence. And here I'm going to start using the word violence, because now we are going to talk, if you allow me, Manika, I'm starting to talk about the dynamic of the manipulation that happen, right? So the narcissistic, the pervert narcissistic will start, first of all, by what we call the honeymoon stage. So what is the honeymoon stage? The honeymoon stage is that time where the pervert narcissist will just give the woman whatever she wants. So he will spend time observing her. He will spend time identifying her flaws. He will spend time studying her needs, and then he will give her all what she wants. So if you have a look onto, for example, the testimony of people that were trapped in that kind of relationship, approximately all of them would talk about a moment of their life where things weren't going well, where they were lost. They were looking for someone to help them, someone to listen to them, someone to somehow guide them. And here comes the pervert narcissist. He will play that role that you want him to play. Till when? Till the moment where the relationship will get serious. Till the moment either you get married, either you get children, or either also you buy something together, you have some common property together, right? So here he will not have to pretend anymore. Now he knows that you're somehow his, right? So he will start showing his real face, and the critics will start. So he will start, as I said, with the psychological violence, showing you that you're not as perfect, that or you need all the time to do, let's say, some improvement about yourself to meet his expectation. He will make you think that the way you think or the way you look into your perspective about life is wrong, that what you have been taught is wrong, that he will actually damage somehow what? Your narcissism. That's very important, because basically a pervert narcissist is a person that hate to see how confident you are. Actually, he's jealous of you. He's jealous of that confidence because he doesn't have it, right? So what he will do, he will try to destroy it in you so that he won't feel that there is something wrong about him. This is why most of the time, also when we talk about pervert narcissist, we talk about vampire, or we say in French, vampirism. They vampirize you, right? They just take out your life essence, and they try to feed themselves with it. So they will start undermining yourself. They will start destroying your self-esteem. They will start destroying who you are, what you think, the value, the people around you. They will start making you doubting about the loyalty of people around you. Not only the loyalty, but also sometimes they are very intelligent. So this is why it's very complicated. Sometimes they will not tell you, this friend is not a good friend, you should not trust her. But they will tell you, she's very, her life is depressing. There is a lot of negative vibes in her life. We don't want our life to be impacted by her. So don't see her as much as you do, right? And you're here, and in the beginning, your mind is not processing it. Your mind is not saying, no, this is my friend. Why shouldn't I meet her? I mean, she has problems. And this is what friends do for each other. When we have problems, we meet, we sit, we talk, we help each other, right? But then the more he's saying it, the more actually you start thinking about it, right? And the problem is that he will make you think in that way. I'll give you an example. He's telling you that your friend have negative vibes, right? So he will spend a very good, let's say, week with you at home. And then by the weekend, you're planning to see that friend, right? So he will say, okay, let's see her. Then he will provoke a fight. Out of nothing, he will provoke a fight. And he will tell you, see, told you. I mean, she's impacting our life. We went there, they were fighting, and now we're fighting because they were fighting, right? So we are somehow, there is some sort of problem here. I don't want to see this person anymore, right? And what he will do, he'll tell you, if you want to see her, go see her, but I'm not going to see her anymore. And then when next time you would like to see her, he will tell you, but no, we should have time for us together as a couple. Right? Can you see how much it's manipulating? So it goes in that way. And the person, step by step, is drawn into the own perspective of the pervert narcissist. Once the psychological, let's say, control is there, comes the verbal violence. And here he will be able to start saying things bad to you. But the problem is that he will all the time make it look like as you are the one that should be guilty, should be blamed about that, right? He will tell you, you know, I told you that I'm highly sensitive in that very specific topic, for example, but you keep on bringing it. I'm going to give an example of cases that I saw. One woman once wanted to go to see her father, right? So in her father's house, her cousin was living in there, and her cousin was in love with her when they were kids. So he told her, I don't want you to go to your father's house if I'm not with you, because your cousin is there, right? And I'm jealous and I love you. And of course he will just show a lot of love while expressing his jealousy, so that the woman won't feel repulsed, but she'll say, oh, this is because he loved me. This is because I'm the most precious thing in his life, and so on. So some kind of anesthesia, right? So then after that, what happened is that her dad was sick and she was home and the husband were at work. And her mom called her and she was like, oh, please, you need to come very quickly. Your father is sick and he's asking for you. So what she did is that she just called her husband. He didn't pick up. So she said, never mind, I need to see my father. So she stepped out of the home and she saw her father. And then after that, her husband called her. He said, yeah, you called me, what's happening? So she said, I'm in my father's house. And of course, a big fight happened. And then after that, he told her, I have told you that I don't want you to go there without my permission. I don't want you to be there alone because there is your cousin and blah, blah, blah. So even if the reason behind the fight may look like in the beginning for the woman, I mean, a very bad reason, it's not even excusable, the man will make it look like excusable and will turn the situation on the woman. You know that it provokes me and you did it, right? So it's your fault. So then what happened? The woman will start feel guilty about it. And she will say, oh yeah, that's right. He told me about it. I remember because he told her about it, right? So, and then what happened? This guilt will help the woman. Actually, it won't help her at all, but it will make it even difficult for her to say no to this relationship and to stop this relationship. So because she's feeling guilty, she will all the time try to make it up for him, right? Make it up by understanding, make it up by being a little bit more patient, make it up by trying to satisfy him. And then what happened at that moment is we are going to go back to what we call the honeymoon stage, where the man will show love, affection, dedication, all what you want, right? He will play the full game just till the anxiety and the fears of the woman are calming down. Once it's calming down, he can come back to his real nature. And then again here, psychological violence, verbal, economic violence, also sometimes sexual violence and physical violence may happen. And when I talk about economic violence, many people don't understand what is economic violence. I have also another example here. I had I knew a woman. That woman was working, right? So she has her own salary and she wanted to buy things. I mean, whatever, clothes, jewelry, shoes, whatever, right? So, and I remember that she said to me once a sentence that really hit me. She said, I'm really grateful that he is allowing me to buy these things. I was like, allowing you? Is it his money? She says, no, it's my money. It's my salary. So I said, why should he allow you or not if it's your money? And then she said, I don't know. He says that it's our money and we have projects. So we have to economize. Right? So can you see here how much the boundaries are thin between the individualities? It's us. And then because it's us, I have the right to tell you what to do. I have the right to vampirize you. And then the woman will feel like that he's making her a favor, right? For spending her own money on something that she wants to buy. So, I mean, it may go to a very, very extreme situation. And in some other cases, the sexual, for example, violence, I met women that were accepting to have a sexual relationship with their husband just because this is how they're supposed to behave in a couple, right? And they would tell me, this is his right. I cannot stop him from having what is his right, right? But what about you? What do you feel? What do you think? And then I was also shocked to hear some sort of answers such as, doesn't matter, or I will do whatever to make the things work, or I had to make it up for him. I was the one that provoked his anger. So this is how I would repay him. Even if I don't want to, I think this is what he deserves.
Sure.
And that actually destroyed completely the woman from inside. And at a certain level, it completely, remove away her capacity to resist, her capacity to fight back, and her capacity to leave this pathological relationship.
Sure. Thank you, Jehan. I'm sure we all learned a lot and it's like really interesting. I have a lot of interest in this topic. A couple of things I just wanted to clarify before I go further. We are almost coming to the end of the 1 hour, so I just want to ask quickly. You know, I know that what you said is they kind of make you feel the victim, they are the problem, right? And it is, you know, obviously not visible in the beginning and the honeymoon period, which is, you know, really interesting concept. But are they conscious about it themselves? Do they know they act in that way, or actually they don't?
Yeah, thank you very much for this question, because it's a question that most of the time the victim asks herself. So I will ask you, I will answer you that sometimes they know about it, sometimes they don't. Sure. It depends. It depends on the base of the personality. Some people are aware about their dynamic and they do it on purpose, while some others are not really aware, they're doing it unconsciously. Sure. But here, the most important, and one of the advices I highly address to women and also men, don't even, if you found yourself into this kind of relationship, don't even ask yourself this question, because this question will make you feel even more confused. Because if you ask yourself this question and the answer is, probably he's not aware about that, you will find excuses for him. You will continue bearing this relationship, aiming or hoping that you will be able to change it. Whether it's completely an illusion, you will be just consuming yourself again and again and again, burning yourself, burning who you are, just for the sake of that person. So whether it's conscious, whether it's unconscious, we don't care about that. There is a problem. This is the most important. This relationship is toxic. This is the most important thing to highlight. And when it's toxic, I mean, it's not healthy anymore. When it's not healthy anymore, you have to leave. That person will have 100% to consult a psychologist most of the time. But the problem with pervert narcissists is that they will never admit that they have a problem. What they do is that they project on you their own weaknesses. They will tell you that you're egocentric, you're selfish, whether in reality they are selfish. They will tell you that you don't know how to speak, whether in reality they are the one who don't know how to speak. They will tell you a lot of bad things, but it's projecting to the outside. They're projecting on you so that they can survive with the image that they're not satisfied with, right? They cannot really accept to be the villain, so they make you be the villain so that they can enjoy being the victim.
Sure. Thank you, Jihan. It's really interesting because I have witnessed, narcissists calling the others narcissistic, or systematically isolating people from their loved ones. So it's like, I think it's very, very complex thing. So can you tell us what can the victims do in order to escape, his or her control?
Yes, that's very, very important. So I will start by what you just said. And this is absolutely true, Menaka. The pervert narcissist actually will try to shut down the mirror around you. And when I say mirror, as a human being, we see ourselves through other people's eyes, right? So it's very important for us to feel comfort, to ask people that we love, people that we trust, how we are doing. I mean, are we doing well? Is that behavior good or wrong? And the more you ask a person you trust, the more you feel comfortable with the answer. But what happened with the pervert narcissist is that he's shutting down all these mirrors to keep only one his. So the only feedback you may have about yourself will be his own reflection. And that is the problem here. So the most important is when you notice that you are in this kind of toxic relationship, first of all, you have to keep contact with the other people. Just contact them again. Talk to them again. I mean, most of the time, women will feel, how can I say this? They will feel ashamed to go back and talk to their best friend that they left back probably sometimes 2 years, 5 years ago, right? But this is what the pervert narcissist is counting on. He's counting on you, on your guilt, on your shame. Never be ashamed of going back to your father, to your mother, to your sister, to your brother, to your best friend, even if you fought, even if there was a problem, because this person is a person that truly loves you. And even if there was a fight between both of you, when you go back to her or to him, they will never let you down. They will be here. Actually, these people care for your happiness. So if you're going back to them and telling them, I don't know what's happening to me, I'm feeling miserable, they will not tell you, oh, you fought with me, just go with your life. Never. They will tell you, yes, I've witnessed you changing. I saw something wrong happening, but you didn't allow me to help you. And then they will start helping you. They will start also sometimes reminding you of things that you somehow are denying, right? Because you're in that relationship, because you want things to happen or to work, so you forget. You deny what's happening. And sometimes when you sit with a person that is very close to you, she will tell you or he will tell you, remember you told me this and that. And sometimes you may feel surprised and you say, oh, really? That happened? Yes, that happened. But you just move forward as if it never happened. So first of all, regain contact with the people, contact the people again, talk to them, read about it a lot. Don't accept anymore a person to cross your boundaries. I mean, it's important to say no. No, even if you're afraid, even if you're terrified, you need to say no. You need to refuse to be abused anymore. Who is this person anyway to tell you what to do or what not to do? I mean, we're adult. We're supposed to be equal. How can you tell me that I'm not good enough? I can tell you that you're not good enough also to me, right? But I'm not doing that. But why am I not doing it? Not because I'm a fragile person and not because I'm too weak to do it, but because I respect you. So if you don't respect me back, there is a problem here, right? So when this kind of awareness come up, it's very important to start saying no, to start resist, and more like that, to put conditions to that person. I mean, we have, for example, to go and to consult a marital counselor, for example, whether in some cases between you and me, it's not working. In most cases, when the relationship is very, very deep in manipulation, the pervert narcissist will use this kind of situation to keep on manipulating the person. Right? He can accept to go to a conjugal, let's say, a counselor. He will sit, he will say, yes, I'm going to do a lot of things. I'm going to engage myself, I promise, and then he won't do it. He will just do it the needed time to put the person again into security, right? Once the person is secure again, he will come back to whatever he's doing. Because the real work that has to be done is that person, the pervert narcissist, should go to a psychologist, should really, really realize and be aware that he's having an issue, and he should be wanting to address it. And meanwhile, the wife or the husband should be free to choose to stay or to leave. Then after that, if you went through a therapy, and if after that you're feeling better, and after that you have a more, let's say, healthy kind of a dynamic, I may probably think about going back to you if I still have some feelings, right? If I see that there are some improvements. But if I don't want to, then it has to be respected. Freedom, decision, and we need to make a choice, and we need to say no to violence, no to humiliation, no to threatening. All of these things are not supposed to be existing in a healthy couple relationship.
Sure. Thank you so much, Jihan. And I think, this is a topic I'm sure a lot of people will relate on this platform. And, we will be going through questions and answers from the audience later. And I'm sure a lot of questions are going to come your way. Be ready for that. I can guarantee you there will be plenty of questions, including from my own self. So, you will be having a lot of questions. But I think, thank you so much for explaining and making us understand in very simple way about narcissism, because this word gets kicked around a lot. We speak about, or we heard, but there is also certain cultures and certain communities we don't hear about this at all, and people don't even know that there's a concept like that, there is a problem like that. So yeah, thank you so much for explaining it such a simple, beautiful way, as much as you can.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So next week, it would be, we would be speaking about, in the episode 45, we would be speaking about how to nourish brain health with Dr. Arani Nitkunen. Dr. Arani Nitkunen, she has a PhD consultant neurologist in Croydon University Hospital and St. George's University Hospital, London, UK. Dr. Arani Nitkunen studied at Newham College, Cambridge, and Guy's and St. Thomas Hospital, and graduated in 1999. She was awarded a PhD for stroke research at St. George's Hospital. And Dr. Nitkunen was also appointed as a consultant neurologist in 2013. With general neurology clinics at Croydon, she also specializes in neuro-ophthalmology clinics in St. George's. So her two subspecialist area is around stroke and neuro-ophthalmology. So she is, of course, expert about brain, and I cannot wait for her to come and speak to us about brain, how to nourish the brain health, which is, I think, another thing we all have to try. And for me personally, I am at a certain age, I'm definitely interested to know how we can nourish our brain health. So thank you so much, Jihan. For people who are in Zoom, please hold on, because we will be going into the question and answer, and we are not finished yet for Facebook. People who are in Facebook. Over to Julie Tushingham to give the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, Menaka. Well, first of all I can say is, wow, so many light bulb moments in this fascinating discussion. And thank you so much, Dr. Jihan, for spending this time with us. And what an honor to hear your insights and expertise. Particularly fantastic to hear about the 6 pillars of a healthy relationship. That was so important. And also how to spot a narcissist and what levels of narcissism are healthy and unhealthy. Some fantastic insights. Thank you to our audience for joining us today. I think a lot of us will be looking at the world through different eyes because of this discussion. And I agree with Menaka, lots and lots of questions. So we appreciate you so much, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Menaka.
Thank you, Jihad. So for people who are listening to us or seeing us on Facebook, thank you so much for joining us. Like next week, same time, same place, we will be coming live again at 2 o'clock UK time, 6:30 Sri Lanka, India time, and anything in between, because I know Jihen is from the UAE. So hoping to see you all again. Until that time, please do subscribe and hit the bell icon for us to support our YouTube channel. Till we see next time, same place, same time. Be safe, stay happy, and keep smiling.